Kevin West here. I'm your host for the WPMA Shop Talk, and I'm with Doug Cummings from Cummings Veneer Products. Doug, great to have you here today, and we have got a great topic to unpack. But before we get into that, tell us a little bit about you.
Thanks, Kevin. Good to see you again. My name is Doug Cummings, Cummings Veneer Products. We manufacture custom wide plank engineered and solid flooring and paneling that we market and sell under our Armenia Mountain Plank and Panel here in Troy, Pennsylvania. We've been members of WPMA since 2011. We got into the engineered flooring market in 2015, and it has just been a wild ride since. And we've been growing consistently year over year. And but yeah, it's been a great time, and WPMA has been a great place for us to get to know other members, share challenges, things that we've done, big wins, and just collaborate. So it's been great.
That's epic. That's epic. Hey, thanks for sharing that, Doug. And today our topic is we're talking about let's try something new. And this really, you kind of came to mind with this whole thing because every time we've been in board meetings and been around, you've always been sharing these risks you're taking, these things that you're trying that are out there. And this is just a great episode for you to share with us maybe what you've learned. There's obviously you had some wins and you might have had some losses in that end of it. But talk to us a little bit about some of the stuff that's out there and that you guys have attempted work through. Trying something new isn't always easy. So
No.
walk us through this journey because we all want a little bit of Doug here. Sure.
Thanks. No, it's fun. I'm a tech enthusiast, so I'll start with that. And it's very easy to get distracted with, this piece of software or that piece of software. And, you can start with things and then say, man, this really just does not work for me. And you can drop it like a bad habit. But, one of the things that I've gotten over the years is really trying to if you're gonna play or dabble in something, don't commit the whole team to it right away. Like, see if
Okay.
it's gonna work. Because everybody's got buy-in to change, right? You can't
Mhm.
just because I want something to change doesn't mean it's going to. It's got to work for everybody, and everybody's got to buy in. So that's the biggest, I think, component is, finding that solution that's going to best fit everybody, not just one person. So, like, we changed I moved over to a CRM system, I think almost 3 years ago. It's been a great system for me. They have a books system that's associated with it, and it's really helped improve our flow for our sales orders. And it's been a really good fit. So that's one change that we made technology wise that has helped get me better organized, but it's also helped the flow of information through the company.
I want to circle back on a couple things. So
Yeah.
how do you go? I mean, obviously there's lots of opportunities to, change things, right? And you don't want to change just to change. You got to be, focused in terms of what brings the most value. How do you go about, evaluating that? How do you go about evaluating what is needed? Like for instance, the CRM system. What was that more of a need? Was that more was it necessity? Talk to us a little bit about how the process works for how you determine what to put your energy towards.
It was pain. Um, Simply put, I was getting frustrated with the fact that I wasn't following up on quotes, following up on deals, and just, losing track of things. And I was trying to do too much repetitive data entry into different things to try and keep myself on track.
Mhm.
And I just abandoned it. But now I've got a system that keeps me focused on target. And, when I send a quote out, it's always formal. It's not like, here's a quick email with a quote, and then I have to log it into a spreadsheet. And then maybe I follow up, a week later. This way I have a system that I can call up and I can pull up all the quotes for a customer and say, hey, we were talking about this one and you thought it was really going to happen. And it actually makes it a lot easier to go back and look at the history and say, here are some of the projects we've talked about. You can also compare notes like, okay, we won this one. Why didn't we win this one? But the flow of information's gotten a lot better with this new system. Like I can take my sales order once it's, we said somebody sends a PO over, I can send it over to our book system to Jen as an estimate, and then she can approve that estimate and make it an actual sales order for the company. So it eliminated her having to repeat and retype up that order. It's already in the system. I just transferred it over. So the flow of information has been a lot easier. We have our checks and balances that way as well. And that's been a huge help. So that's been a change that, we've really embraced. And now we're trying to embark on the next part of that. And I kind of look at it as a triangle.
Okay.
You've got sales, finance, and then operations. And so those three things all need to talk to each other. So the next part is to how do we take the sales order and instead of making a shop traveler that's paper based, that people write all the information in and then it has to come back in the office, it has to get entered and then invoiced. This way, what we're moving toward now is a shop based entry system where it's going to be more tablet driven. I've been wanting to do this for a couple years, but frankly, I don't think the technology's been quite there yet. But I think AI is going to help us do that. We're working with Adam at Ledge to help us with this process, and some of the tools may not all be related to our software. We use a software package called Zoho, Zoho, and it's a flexible system for CRM books. It's got some quirks, I'll be honest, but they have a creator app that allows you to create your own custom apps, and these apps can be, it's a database essentially, like you're creating your own database. And there are a lot of MRP, ERP, MES systems out there, but what I boil it down to is like our company specifically, is unique. I mean, and a lot of people can say that and they say, oh, well, you can use, NetSuite and stuff like that. But it really comes down to we want to build our own system because we know what works for us.
Right.
And we can put the information in there that really dials things in and it will allow us to look at the key performance indicators that matter to us. And that's what I'm focused on. So that's going to be the next year. Hopefully not extended too far out from that, but these things take time and we're working at it together, but one step at a time.
Well, and it's important. You said a lot there. I mean, like I wrote like a whole bunch of notes. So I'm go look back at my notes here. But the first thing that jumps out to me is the benefit extension. Whenever you embrace, something new, there's always a benefit extension that comes from that. And what you ended up having with the CRM was your ability the close rate probably went up. I'm sure of that. The speed at which you could keep up with things. I mean, you start thinking about release and the schedule and all the elements of that. I mean, from a time savings is just dramatic. But the other part of it that jumped out to me is when you started talking about new systems in the shop. It's almost like, and you can reinforce this if I'm on point, but it almost seems like once you really dive into the first right thing when it comes to doing something new or making a change that helps with the pain. Okay, I get that.
Right.
It dominoes, doesn't it? It almost forces whatever the other piece of it. But you said something really important here. You said the software wasn't keeping up. That like you were assessing what was ahead. And there's something that I always tell people when I coach, you got to be in the future and in the moment at the same time. And
Right.
it seems like that's what I'm seeing here. That whole idea of, yes, I'm in the moment, we're doing the CRM thing, but then here I'm seeing the need that this is going to have to move into the shop in a much better way. And we have to have a higher levels of communication out there to match what we're doing everywhere else. How do you evaluate that? And now obviously AI is going to be a huge catalyst for that. And you gave Ledge a shout out, Adam and his team. I mean,
Right.
that's obviously a big deal to have someone, coming alongside you in that respect. But how do you, when you're looking at your needs, how do you assess whether something is going to work for you or not? How do you break that down?
Well, with Zoho, I actually part of the concept that I talked about with the 3 points with the sales, finance, and operations have always been, you know, what I've been looking at. And
Yeah.
so if it didn't have, if it wasn't able to address the operations side, I didn't think it was going to happen. So I kind of kept my focus on software that was going to at some point help operations. It didn't necessarily have to be, you know, today, tomorrow, but planned out. And again, to get everybody's buy-in out on the floor, we're going to have to put it out there in pieces so that people get used to it. We're going to have to do paper-based and tablet-based, while so we get both to monitor things, make sure everything's in going the way we want to. But again, embracing change because we know it'll help us move forward. We're being asked to do more complex jobs with piece counts versus just footage, certain grade specs. So it's all tied together. So yeah, the next pain point that I had after sales and looking at operations is, how much repetitive data entry we're doing, and that's what's driving this next phase to a certain degree, as well as is getting some of the taken instead of doing the data entry at the end, and that you get that done and then you move to invoicing. I want to do more what did we get out of it? Like, where's the analysis? Like, spend the
Mhm.
time instead of reconciling and data entry, get analysis out of it. What reports, what can we glean from the information that came in instead of just moving on to the next one?
And that pivots into a different conversation here, a part of this conversation. You mentioned earlier we had talked off air, but were sharing some of the AI benefits you were experiencing with how it does calculations and it gives you specific feedback. Well, can you share a little bit about what you're doing on that side of it? Because that's a little bit of a deeper dive, but I think it's something of note to keep in mind. Can you
Sure,
mind
with AI, I think again, it's a separate from the software system that we're trying to develop internally and build out for the shop. But, using AI from our team perspective, I'm using it to help me analyze things quicker, uh, and just get things done. For example, we receive lumber tallies from our vendors,
sharing?
and we will sometimes buy random width, sometimes we buy a width range for a project. But if I'm looking at a random width lumber, the tallies come in, it might be a 10 to 15 page PDF. And each pack has its length, its widths, number of pieces. And I had a template made up that our one of our office people, she would enter the data into that. Then I could now analyze, the percentages by width and how many lineal feet are in there. It took an hour for her to get that kind of thing in, and then it takes me another, you know, 20 minutes to put in all the formulas and kind of really analyze it. But I uploaded it into ChatGPT and gave it the requirements of what I was looking to do. And I actually had to fine tune it too. Like it came back and I actually checked its results. You can't let this thing go unchecked. You've got
Okay,
to
good point. Good point
yeah,
there.
you've got to check it. And it had calculated it wrong. And I said, you did this. This is how I want you to do it. And it changed and like that. And then it spit out the proper info for me. And I saved that as essentially a prompt so that going forward it would remember how to do the calculations. But it's been a super helpful tool that way. I also use it as a content collaborator. I wouldn't say I rely on it to write everything. You can't just say go write this article for me. You need to be involved, and I think the collaboration with AI is how I look at it. I don't look at it as oh, go do this for me because I don't think it wouldn't really reflect us. It wouldn't have our voice or my
I think it's
voice.
an important point to make, Doug, because I think we just can't give it all over to the thing that will do all the work. There has to be humanity somewhere interwoven in the context of anything that you would do from a content standpoint. You want to be able to leverage, obviously, its ability to access the internet for whatever it is you're looking for, but there still has to be you in it. And I think that's a really good point, by the way. And I think anybody listening to this I think it's like we can't lose ourselves to it. It has to be something that's a tool of that feeds us and allows us to elevate. And
Right. And I think it's one of the things that you can using AI, I think really can help leverage time. Again, how do I want to spend my day and what are the things I want to do? I'm gonna feed it some more sensitive data. I've already made sure to check off and with the talking with Adam about not sharing it with the entire world. But I am gonna test it and see how it can make speed up what I do for quotes and that type of thing. What it can do to help me there, because I've got as an owner operator, I've got a lot of hats. As a lot of our member companies at WPMA do. Like we all wear a lot of hats. There's a lot of responsibilities. It's hard to touch on everything at once. And if you can use AI to help leverage your time, it's a great tool. And I think the more you use it, the better you'll get at it.
I think it's a great point, Doug. And share with the audience a little bit about um I guess more in the realm of like how do you decide not to do something? Like, I mean, there's so much out there to do, but what do you like? How do you decide when it to not do something? I guess is probably the way I would want to put it. Because saying no, I always tell my clients the next level always lives in the land of no. And when you have too much, you're dabbling with everything. And if you're dabbling with everything, you're going to be frustrated and
Right.
you don't master it.
Yeah.
So how do
Well,
you discern that?
I guess I guess for me, like the AI thing, I've made a choice to do it and get involved in it. Um, there's a difference between, let's say, different software packages like Slack and other
Mhm.
messaging apps and things like that. Again, you need to find what's going to work for your team if that's what you're using it for. And you can't force change if people don't want to do, or if it doesn't work for your team. You've got to find those things that work. So, I'm not forcing AI on everybody at this point, but we are going to do it as a team because I think there are ways you can use it. It'll share the knowledge that everybody puts into it, and if with that, I think people will use it more if they know how to use it.
Mhm.
But again, we're just starting to dip our toe into it. I am enjoying using it, but at the same time, we're not all in on it yet, as far as the tool that we're using with ChatGPT to start, it's a good intro. Again, I think with Adam, we're going to explore some other things. He has some ideas for us that I think could be really beneficial. Again, kind of building our own knowledge base internally, so that if I can get our production manager to put in our specs as far as our standards for milling, then I'll be able to ask it, what are our standards for this again? And it'll spit it out, and I can use that on a product spec sheet. There are lots of good ways to use it, but yeah,
So
I don't know if that really answers your question or not, but
it does in a way. I think one of the things that I took away from that was obviously what a decider is going to be how involved the team can be with it, and whether it's going to impact all three facets. When you start talking about, I think what did you say? Sales, finance, operations. When you started
yeah.
saying those three elements, I think those are boundaries. I think that you're looking at and saying, hey, you know what? From a collective, this is going to be the parameters which we work in. Obviously, having a Sherpa like Adam, who's helping you on the AI side, helps a ton on
Right.
that deciding, factor. And then I think on the other side, I think there's a part of it for you as you're an early adopter. You're someone who's excited about technology. You admitted I'm a technology guy. There is a part of time savings that comes into that for you. And you don't look at it as a waste of time to invest your knowing that it's going to give you something on the back end, just like you just shared. That what you just shared a few minutes ago had to be a huge time saver for you guys when you say,
Oh
hey,
yeah.
an hour's worth of your time and your obviously your bandwidth is a big deal. That's something that I think we all need to keep in mind, and I think it gets lost in this, and I want to get your take on this because I think it's one of the reasons why we don't try something new is because we think that maybe there isn't going to, maybe I'm going to put all this energy in this and I'm not going to get it in return on it. And
Well, and that's okay too. Like you need to explore those lanes, those avenues. I mean, if you don't go down there, I've definitely wasted some time looking at different software packages and spent some time going through it. But if I didn't do it, I wouldn't know that it wasn't for me either.
exactly. That's exactly it. And I think if anybody, if you're watching this and you're taking in what Doug's sharing, I know you're resonating with a lot of what he's talking about because we all have that level of pressure or, areas where we're frustrated or losing time or, it's seeming like sometimes industries can outpace us, and let's face it, we all are living in a world now where competitors can come out of nowhere. And they're coming out of nowhere with tools that we're still trying to figure out within our own context. And they're building things around those tools. And that's something that we have to be aware of. And I guess in closing, Doug, if you wanted to give anybody advice out there about trying something new or the willingness, the mentality to do that, make us feel better here, Doug, about this because sometimes I don't know why it is, but we just get hunkered down. And then next thing you know how 2 weeks turns into 2 months and 2 months turns into 2 years. And all of a sudden then we've lost the window. And you are compelled not to let that happen to you. I can tell.
No.
I can see it. So give us a word of inspiration to wrap us up and give us a word to everybody to march out of here and start banging the keyboard. All right.
Well,
So,
I'll say one thing. Come to the annual meeting because that's where we all get together and talk about these things, right? So it's a great place. You'll get to meet Adam if you come to the annual meeting. I'm happy. I love this topic. I love talking about tech and how I'm using it to improve what we're doing in our shop, in our office, life in general. I really enjoy it. So uh, I would just say try it, dip your toe in, and if you do it every day or at least every week and get more comfortable with it, you're gonna find that it improve. You're gonna find ways that it'll improve your time being spending on things, helping your bandwidth. I mean, that's the biggest thing that I'm looking for our team is how to increase our bandwidth because we're doing more and more things and being asked to do more things. We've got to be able to rise up to that challenge. And that's how we do it is, again, invite change and work together as a team to make it happen.
hey, now I'll tell you this in closing. You got to sign up to the conference, folks, because here's the thing. I'm going to propose, I mean, Doug real uncomfortable here when I say this, but I think there should be a conference commando session where a happy hour session with Doug Cummings and to sit down and just pick his brain, sit at the table, have a drink, sit down, get to talk with him, share your heart and listen to the things. We just scratched the surface today, gang. I mean, really, in a podcast episode, we can't even do justice to the amount of work and effort that's probably Doug has put into all this and for his team. You got to come to the conference. You got to sit down. You got to try to hunt him down and get together. You don't want to miss conference. You don't want to miss spending time with guys like Doug and many others, by the way, who are going to be there just to pick their brains and learn and grow. Doug, I thank you so much for sharing today and encouraging us to embrace the new world that's in front of us. I love it that you work with Adam and his team, and I'm sure we're all going to want updates on how this is going
Yeah.
for sure on that end. So there probably going to be another podcast where we're going to have the AI update with Doug Cummings. So
Right.
I think that would be a good thing. But hey, appreciate you. Thank you for being here
No,
today.
thank you so much. It's a pleasure and always enjoyed talking with you, Kevin.
Hey, everybody, thanks for being with us. And hey, we'll see you next time on the WPMA Shop Talk. Take care, everybody.
Thanks.